Hi there everybody, Bald&curious here. Somebody asked me to do a cleaning video for the Grand Power. It's pretty much like any other semi-automatic gun, but there's a few spots you gotta watch out for. I did briefly mention that in one of the videos, but I think I'll just do a dedicated video on that. Also, comes to field stripping the gun and putting it back together. Seems to be like a misconception that you need 3 hands, and it's really, once you get used to it, once you figure it out, it's really not that hard. So what I usually do is cock the gun, you pull the pins, and I usually just put it against my chest. Pull the slide up, and the gun comes apart. Never had a problem, obviously, on the beginning I did, but once I figured out, never had a problem taking it apart, putting it back together. Only time I do have a little bit of the problem, it's not with this one, but with my X-Trim, when I use the heaviest spring, the red spring it comes with, then it's a real bitch putting it back together. Now, putting the gun back together, you got to make sure that you orient the barrel properly. The flat part goes down. You slide the barrel all the way. The flat part's down. I usually keep the spring on the guide rod. Just push the whole thing in. Pull back, and you're done. All set. So that was fairly easy. Let me bring it to a bench, and since this gun's dirty, we'll just give it a quick wipe down, and I'll tell you where and how I lube it, and so far that worked out for me pretty good. Okay, so I usually just wipe it down with the cloth first. The stainless steel barrel is fairly easy to clean. Run the bore brush through it. If you run some lead bullets or something, you might have to run the copper brush, but I usually don't have a issue with that. Most of the time I just take a regular bore brush, run it through it a couple of times. The end gets caked up, so that's what I use a brass brush for the end, and this gets caked up. So same thing, clean this up a little more, and again, I kind of just wipe it down. No real need for any chemicals. If I'm lazy, I spray this down with like something like this. What you want to clean very well is, alright, so I usually clean all this up, get the crud out of it. Spot right here, you wanna clean this because that gets deposited, and over here. So usually just use the other end of the brush that actually fits right in the crevices. Just clean it up. You know, you use some solvent if you want to get all this done, clean it up real nice. Then move to the frame. The place you gotta be real careful on the frame is right here. This thing, this gets kind of caked up. You want to get all this crap out of there. I actually had a plastic tool that I can't find, that I kind of sharpened and worked perfect for cleaning that up. But brush and a solvent will get the stuff out. You know, and clean the rails. I'll clean the rail over here as well. You know, depending on how much you shot the gun, you might want to run the rack through a frame as well. And that's about it. That's about all the cleaning I do. Usually, you know, spend a little more time on it. Then, as far as lubing goes, what I do, I kind of got away from frog lube because of I just, in the cold weather, it seems to me like it wasn't working properly, and they said if that's the case, you're not doing it properly, that you should use less and blah 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 blah. I noticed that this gun runs better when it's a little wet, and the Lucas oil, this stuff over here, seems to be really working. Had no issues with that. So what I do is I just put a little bit on the rails, just 2 drops or so. Then as far as the barrel goes, I put a little bit on the locking lug, and you want to lube the back of this, the back of the barrel. You want to make sure that's lubed and cleaned and there's no burrs or whatever, because that's when you can have problems. And just put it back together. I usually put a little drop right here and just smear it, because that's what cocks the hammer and kind of helps. And then put it back together and done. Now sometimes, like in a competition, and if I feel that you know, I don't know, let's say you already have 150 rounds through it, and it's a dusty range or whatever, then I go to a safe table. You know, you can put a drop over here, and that should solve the problem. You can also maybe use some kind of grease instead of oil. That'll probably might be better. But like I said, this stuff worked pretty good for me. And this is, like I said, this is not a carry gun. This is a competition gun. So the tolerances are tighter. Everything's kind of tighter on the gun. You know, the springs are lighter. The P11, which is a carry gun, it's little, I wouldn't say looser, but you know, it's little there's a little less I guess tolerances in there. It's not as tight, so it doesn't need as much oil. It doesn't need to be as wet. I guess that's about it. You know, that's the way I clean and lube the gun. So far it worked out for me pretty well. That's the way I do all 3 of my grand powers. And maybe what's next is we'll take the P11 and I'll load up like 500 rounds, and we'll put it through a test again, put like a 500 rounds through it. I can't really afford to run 1,000. That's way too much for me. But I'd say if we can run 500 no problems, then it should be a nice video. So as always, everybody, have fun, keep shooting.